Well, hi again, everybody out there. This is Andrew Everingham from Capital E. You might have come to this little video because you saw a little snippet on the socials or on our website, talking about how to take care of yourself when you are working from home, with my good friend Tony Middlemas, who is joining us now. How are you, mate?
Good, Andrew. Good to be chatting to you again and getting deeper into our conversation.
Exactly, that's what it's about. So as I mentioned before, if you saw the shorter snippet there, Tony is the founder and operator of the Feel Amazing Wellness Centre up in Chatswood here in Sydney, Australia. And as a customer of said centre, I can vouch that these guys are pretty incredible. I think there's something kind of a little magic that they're able to do. He will argue with me that it's all science, but anyway, that's the way it is. Tony, I thought I'd just kick off by asking you, man, how does someone like you find your way into this line of work? How did you get to be doing this?
There's a short story and a long story, but we'll intersect in the middle, shall we? My interest in this actually started with my grandmother, who was a Ukrainian refugee to Aotearoa or New Zealand, across the ditch, and she was all about natural therapies when we were growing up. So we'd have a poultice made out of honey and grated potato for a splinter, and herbal teas were a common thing at the dinner table. And my grandfather got into being a vegetarian in mid 80s at some stage, and he's kicking on to 93, 94 now. So yeah, there was always an interest in health, and so I was always interested in it. I started in IT to start with, first out of school, and then got really sick of working with strange men in trench coats calling themselves warlock, and got into natural therapies instead.
Nice one. And so, look, when an organisation like yours is confronted with the kind of crazy pandemic that we're experiencing now, what is the first thing that you see in that? I mean, is it the panic and the stress? I mean, people come to you for a whole lot of ailments. You must have been seeing some pretty big shifts.
We have, and most of it is stress related, which is, people are worried, which is understandable. Like, this is unknown territory, and it's funny. Humans don't tend to sort of go down a middle line, do they? So we've got people that aren't worried enough and don't take enough care of themselves, and those that worry too much. And the ones that are worrying too much and maybe not following too much good advice are really stressing out. And yeah, we've got to look after those people. I mean, stress is just terrible for the whole body, really. And we also saw a real increase in a lot of neck pain, what we call it acute torticollis, which is a very old-fashioned term for wry neck, where you've been doing too much of sort of this over a keyboard, then you have a bad night's sleep because you're stressed, and then you can't turn your head to the left or the right. I mean, most people get a few of those in their lifetime, but we're getting people that are getting 3 or 4 in the last 4 or 5 months. Seems to be an increase in shift since late last year, really. Increase in stress, I should say.
And obviously you can see why that would happen. So I asked you in the shorter version of this just about you're at the centre today, and you are doing some sort of remote treatments and things with people. When you're working with someone over either a video conference like this, or you're talking to them on the phone, are you able to help them with things like stress relief and I mean, obviously there's things like nutrition and advice type activities. What can you do for somebody who's got actual physical pain when you're doing it as a remote consult like that?
Physical pain is a little bit more difficult. It's about giving them certain exercises or things they can do at home, like a hot bath or a hot heat pack on their neck and shoulders. Using magnesium at night is a great way of just relaxing the body and getting a better night's sleep. That's actually a really good one. Just lots of small things, really. How to stretch certain injuries. We've been doing a lot of that as well. there's not self-massage. I have shown someone how to self-massage a thigh. Yeah, there's lots of little things you can do. But the big thing that we've been doing is a lot of consults related to keep their nutrition, worried about other underlying conditions they have, which may impact them later down the line if they do get COVID. So doing a lot of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. Again, when we started talking about this a few days ago, some of it's about preventative activity that you can do. So we talked about fortification and building up your immune system and getting yourself into a position where you've got the best fighting chance should you come in contact with COVID-19. Can you run through a bit of those again, and maybe we can just dive a little deeper? What your advice is to people about becoming as robust as you possibly can?
The number one thing you can do for your immune system, in fact, for your stress levels as well, is get a good night's sleep. I can't overemphasize how important a good night's sleep is. Getting less than 6 hours sleep a night gives you a 4 times increases chance of getting the influenza virus. I know COVID isn't an influenza virus, but it's still a virus. So that's how important sleep is. Getting 7 hours or more decreases your chance of getting any illness or virus. So sleep is so important. And it's one of the things that we often don't get enough of. We've got to commute to work. We've got to commute to home after work, spend time with the kids and then do work, at night time. One of the small mercies of this craziness that we're going through is you're taking out those commuting times. Maybe people can really concentrate on getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, which will really help with their anxiety, their emotional stability, and more importantly, their immunity. It's so important. In fact, it's. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say. Bill Gates is. I always read his book list for the year. One of his books this year was on sleep. It was that he recommended for everyone. That's it's so important. It really is.
Yeah, what I was going to add to that was I listened to one of Joe Rogan's podcasts, which is about sleep with a neuroscientist, and I shared it with just about everybody I knew because it really, really put the wind up me. It certainly kind of concerned me when I realized how much of my time's dedicated to things that haven't been focused on sleep, and that how important that is. It seems to be the elixir of life in some ways. If you're just not sleeping, you're just not gonna be as productive or as robust as you need to be. I also, when you start adding in the amount of time that we're all forced to be sitting at screens now as well, I worry a little bit that creates a scenario where you can't have as good a sleep. So you need to be even more active in trying to do the activities that are going to make sleep better. And I think you touched on some of those things around nutrition and exercise and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There I go, touching my face. I'm not supposed to do that. Yeah, look, another great thing, sorry, my brain collapsed into 2 trains of thought then. The exercise is fantastic. And you also touched on a little bit about ergonomics. If you're able to do this at home, try and go from sitting to standing and standing to sitting with your seating. I'm really lucky at home. I've got a kitchen bench. I can put my laptop on, work from there. When I get sick of standing, I can sit down and work on my coffee table. I mean, my kitchen table, not the coffee table, a bit low, and then go backwards and forwards. Now, the reason for that is standing is really, really important for cardiovascular health. It pushes the blood up through the body. So we actually, to get the blood back to the heart, well, part of that process is the contraction of our leg muscles, and the vasodilation or the contraction of those veins and keeping them elastic is part of that as well. So sitting down for 8 hours a day or 10 hours, which is the average actually, does increase your chance of heart attack and stroke. So if you can, get up and down as much as you can. And that comes back to also then to exercise. Getting out there and exercising is great for your cardiovascular health. It's good for your immunity. I was talking earlier about trying to get exercise in every day. A lot of us are now missing our incidental exercise. that's exercise we get without thinking about it. It could be just leaving the office and going getting a coffee. It could be, doing the circuit of the office and having a gossip, but it's still incidental exercise that keeps us active. Where we're being cooped inside at home, it's really hard to do that. At the moment, we're lucky in Australia, we're allowed to leave the house for exercise. Obviously, you can't do group training and whatnot, but we can go for a walk. And doing that a couple of times a day, just for 10, 15, 20 minutes, a couple of times a day, will really help with that incidental exercise. If you can, resistance exercise is better for your immune system, and that's like doing your push-ups, maybe what I've been doing is getting a exercise band out and doing some squats. I've been lucky my PT is able to do a bit of video conference, or unlucky as I actually call it, but it's got to
You're being beaten up, aren't you? That's the truth. You're being beaten up.
Yeah, it's got to be done though.
Yeah. So obviously exercise also plays a huge part in your mental welfare as well.
That's correct,
and keeping that clarity that I think in a time of stress you need to hold on to. How important what importance do you place on things like meditation and time out and just that quiet time as far as overall well-being goes?
I'm a big fan of meditation. I think it's incredibly important. I realize not everyone can meditate, or not everyone feels they're able to meditate. If you want to give it a go, I highly recommend the Calm app or Sam Harris's Waking Up app as great starting points to give meditation a go. There's quite a lot of research on how meditation is a great coping mechanism for stress and stress-related conditions. It's not a panacea, but it does really, really help, and it's a really important part of your mental health arsenal. If you can't meditate, or it's not something you want to try, there's probably something that you can do, whether that's listening to some music. I'm a big fan of that as well. Just having 15, 20 minutes to myself, listen to music, listen to a podcast, non-work related podcasts. I'm a big fan of history podcasts, so that's sometimes how I vague out as well. Just having those times. But I tend to myself personally do three things. I use the meditation app. Some days I don't use a meditation app and I just want to listen to some music. So I put some, Pearl Jam on or something from the 90s, a bit of grunge. And other times I'll listen to a podcast, but not work related, just something that's, just general interest.
As you to switch off a little bit and just have that peace.
Yeah, exactly. And it's usually something I do by myself. So also having time with the family is fantastic, sitting on the couch watching a movie or something like that. But this is just for me. It's stuff for me that I'm interested in. And that's important for me.
Nice one. And look, Tony, just the last thing would be if there's any other tips and tricks or things that have particularly sprung up over the last few weeks that you think that people should be taking into account, that you're worried that people aren't thinking about. Is there any other outliers that you think people need to be, really need to be thinking through?
Well, it's not particularly an outlier, but one of the things is getting a really good amount of nutrition, especially if you're going to be cooped up inside. One of the probably the most important nutritional macro that people don't talk about is getting a great amount of fiber in their diet. So unsexy, fiber. But the reason for that is getting fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, or even frozen fruit and frozen vegetables at this, if that's what the supermarket's got, and getting beans and legumes every day increases something called short chain fatty acids, and that naturally anti-inflammatory, and they will help with any aches and pains that you get from being cooped inside and not getting as much exercise. And they're really, really, really important. Part of the key reason that the Mediterranean diet is considered the healthiest diet in the world is the amount of very unsexy fiber from soluble sources they get it from nuts and seeds, legumes, particularly chickpeas and lentils, lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, and then they add a bit of tasty stuff like red wine. So it
never goes astray. But it does bring up the thing about I sort of feel that when you're sitting and you're working, one of the things you can forget to do is to drink
Oh
water.
yeah.
This is water, not vodka. Just for a change, it is water. What's how much is enough? What's too much? Is it absolutely critical, or is it a bit of a furphy?
No, it is absolutely critical, and thank you for reminding me of it. It's very critical. How much is an individual? Completely individual. It ranges to about the 8 cups a day is actually fairly valid.
Right.
Obviously, cup size matters. You don't want too big and you don't want too small. What I tell people is you should be weeing clear in the afternoon, and then you're well hydrated. So, your first wee in the morning is usually quite concentrated, and then as you drink more water, it should dilute during the day, and then around mid-afternoon it should be running quite clear for most people, and that's a good indication that you're getting enough water. It's about
Nice one.
it's somewhere between 2 and 3 liters for most people most days. It is a bit of a moving target though, but it is super important. It helps with keeping your joints lubricated. Literally, your joints are hydrophilic, which they love water, as well as keeping your digestive system running, keeps your brain functioning better. It's fantastic stuff, and it's free.
Yeah, it certainly is. So listen, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing some of your insight. Obviously, if people want to reach out for more information, we'll put the details below, but maybe hit everybody up with the website and how to get in contact with you. What's the best way to connect?
Definitely the website, feelamazing.com.au. If you want to email me directly, there's a about us button, and then there's an email link, and just put attention Anthony or attention Tony, and that'll come through to me. Or you can make a booking on there as well, and book online to have a chat to me. It'd be great to hear from you all.
Fantastic, mate. Well, look, once again, just thank you so much for giving us your time and for sharing some of your wisdom. As I said before, I've been for running repairs with Tony a few times on joints and all sorts of things, and they're magicians. So thank you so much for your time, man.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Anytime, Andrew.
All right, I'll catch up with you soon. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. And we'll be back with some more tips at a time in the near future. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Cheers.